Welcome to Carolina Tiger. I'm Lauren. Sorry if it's a little hard to hear me. We've got some wind going on, so I'll try to speak up the best that I can. So it is World Wildlife Day today. So in honor of World Wildlife Day, we're going to be talking about some of our residences and talk about some things you guys can do to help save them in the wild. So I'm standing with Anthony Leopard, and Anthony is perusing around his habitat. We'll get some enrichment here in a little while and see what he thinks of that. Here's Anthony. So Anthony is a leopard. Leopards have really one of the most diverse habitats. They live across the continent of Africa, India, Southeast Asia, which makes them highly adaptable. They really do eat anything that they can get their paws on. They are smaller in body size. They're they are the smallest of the big cats. And they can really range in weight from females being as low as 50 pounds upwards of males being 160 pounds. So that is a wide difference there. Now, there are 9 subspecies of leopards spread across, like I said, Africa and Southeast Asia. And the Amur leopard, one of the subspecies, is actually a critically endangered cat. There's only 57 left of them in the world. And so we're going to be talking about some of the threats that face these cats and some of the other big cats that we have today. So let's go ahead and give Anthony some enrichment since he seems to have wandered away. So, Anthony, one of his favorite enrichments is lemon extract. And so I'm just going to pour some lemon extract over a boomer ball for him. And we're going to put that down his food chute. This is a safe way that I can deliver food or enrichment to him without my hands getting near him. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down and see what he thinks about that. And you can never guarantee a reaction. Sometimes they're a little more food driven than they are enrichment driven, and that's okay. One of Anthony's other favorite enrichment items are Christmas trees. He loves the smell of pine. And so you can actually see, well, maybe not so easily from here, we do have some Christmas trees in the enclosure that he does love to rub and roll on. We do get those seasonally during December and January, and those Christmas trees can then be recycled to the cats. So one thing you might notice about Anthony's enclosure is that it does have a roof on it. Leopards are great climbers. They climb trees oftentimes for shelter, but also to drag their prey up into a tree. They can drag prey up to 3 times their body size up into the trees, and that helps protect that prey from other animals like hyenas or lions that might try to steal their meal. Now, Anthony is fairly energetic, quite athletic. Even despite his age, he's roughly 18 years old, which puts him up there in age. They can certainly live in captivity to the age of 20. Often in the wild, they can live from the age of 10 to 15. So we'll try to give Anthony a snack. How about that? Maybe that will bring him up top here. And my stick is actually right over here.
I think he's more excited about this one.
Yes, I think he's a little more excited about the chicken drumstick. So I'm going to just stick that through the fence for him on a treat stick. Again, not using my hands. There we go. A little bit more interest there. So as I mentioned, leopards are spread across Africa, Southeast Asia, and some of their biggest threats kind of depend on where they live. So in Africa, a lot of the biggest threats towards leopards include unregulated trophy hunting. And so when people go out and pay money to hunt these animals, and those numbers are not being measured on how many are being taken, it really has had a deep impact on the local populations. Another problem is even conflicts with human and animal interactions. When leopards do try to take livestock, that is unfortunate for the farmers, and oftentimes they can go out and try to retaliate and kill the animals that then took their livestock. Habitat loss is always an issue with the growth of human population. There are always more people, they spread out, as well as greater areas for agriculture and farming and livestock grazing. Well, then when you've taken away their habitat, you've also taken away their prey. And so when there's not space to live and there's not food available, again, you're going to see shrinking populations there. Also, the use of ceremonial furs in some African tribes is fairly popular, and so to combat that, some groups like Panthera have provided fake leopard pelts so they can use those furs, those fake furs, during ceremonies and not take real leopard furs. Across India, Southeast Asia, deforestation is a really big problem, especially with the palm oil industry. Palm oil is a very cheap crop that's easy to plant and harvest, and it's in about 50% of your products at home, everything from food to toothpaste to your household cleaners. And the issue with palm oil is that they do slash and burn agriculture. They'll burn vast acres of rainforest, capture any animals that may be trying to flee. Those animals end up in the pets and parts trade, and then again, habitat has been destroyed. With the palm oil industry, there's usually about 300 football fields of rainforest cut down per hour for palm oil use. And so one easy thing that you guys can do at home is don't buy products with palm oil, or buy RSPO certified products. That's one easy step that you guys can do. Most supermarkets have their generic brands, don't have palm oil. All you have to do is look at the ingredients and look for palm oil. There are also apps that you can buy on your phone that you can scan the barcodes on products, and that will also tell you if those products have palm oil, and just make the switch. All right, and last but not least, poaching. Poaching is a serious problem, not only for their furs, but for their parts of their body. And so a lot of times these animals, these cats we're going to be talking about, can sell for way more money deceased and in parts than they can alive. And so with all these impacts, leopards have really lost almost about half of their habitat in the last 20 years across Africa and Southeast Asia. So, all right, so we're going to meander over to the lions now. Looks like Anthony has had a treat and is pretty content. All right. We are now looking for Roman and Raina, and they are both up here and waiting for us. It looks like they know we have some treats and some enrichment. So we are just crossing over our tour barrier. This is a fence that helps keep the public a safe distance away from the enclosures. And so that way there's no possibility of public coming in contact with the cats. We are a no-touch facility because we want to make sure that everyone remains alive and uninjured, because these are predators, not pets. These are wild animals, and even if they don't mean to injure you, they certainly can. So I have Roman behind me on my left, and I have Raina over here on my right, and we're going to go ahead and give them a little treat. So I'm going to throw to Raina first, and I'm going to go ahead and throw hers up and over the fence. And you're going to watch how quickly she's going to eat that. Cats are obligate carnivores, meaning they only eat meat, and she's going to eat all of that. She's going to eat the muscle, the bone, the skin, all of it in its entirety, and how quickly she ate that. All right, I'm going to throw this up and over to Roman. Oop, there we go. This is what we call a whole carcass diet, meaning they get the whole part of the animal. The only parts we don't feed are the head and then the intestines, because these are areas that can carry parasites or possible prions. So like I said, you saw how quickly they ate that. Again, these guys inherently wild, and so in the wild, when they do catch prey, they're going to eat it as quickly as they can, because they don't know, one, when their next meal is coming, or if someone else is going to come and try to steal their food. All right, so they are going to get a different enrichment. We're going to go do some tubes with scent. So we have some popular items like Axe body spray, and what else do we have today? Madame perfume. All right, great ones. So we're going to just spray these newspapers and stuff them in a tube and throw them over. It's really important to do enrichment every day because you want to make sure that they stay stimulated, because when you're living in an enclosure your whole life, things can get kind of boring. And so you want to make sure they've got something new and exciting to play with. right. Whoops. It's a little windy, like I said. Losing newspaper. So if you guys have been out to visit us, you might have seen two of our other lions, Sheba and Sebastian. Now the difference really between Sebastian and Roman is that Roman has his mane. Now Sebastian does not have his mane because he was neutered. And when you neuter a male lion, testosterone and mane growth are directly linked. And so you will not grow a mane if you become neutered. Alright, so we're going to chuck this up and over the top. I'm going to give it one last spray. Alright, we'll see if I can get this up and over. Raina's not highly impressed, that's okay. We'll try one for Roman. And not impressed that it doesn't have food. Okay, that's fine. So, let's talk a little bit about lions. Most people think of lions as being native to Africa, which is true. There are several subspecies of lions that live in Africa, but there's another subspecies called the Asiatic lion that lives in India, one part of India, around the Gir forest, and that population is roughly only 500 individuals, versus the subspecies of the African lion, which is around 20,000 individuals. The African lion is listed as vulnerable, and their populations have decreased in the past few years. Lions, as you guys might know, are the only social cats. They live in groups called prides, and looks like Raina's going to clean up there. Females do most of the work in these prides. They do most of the hunting, they raise the young, and so, unfortunate as that is, the males often benefit from all of that work. Roman and Raina, do a little bit of backstory on them real quick. They came to us from Ohio, from a facility called Rescue One, and formerly, before they were at Rescue One, they were used in a cub petting scenario. So, cub pettings are oftentimes where people pay money to go and pet or take pictures with young cats. USDA has a set time between the age of 8 weeks old to 12 weeks old that you can legally interact and play with these cats. Well, typically the types of facilities that do run these operations are breeding these animals to produce these cubs because they know they're going to turn a profit. And it is actually quite a profitable business. Now, the problem is that they will tell you things like, yes, the mother rejected their cubs, or they were rescued and so they need to do these cub photo ops to raise money to help support their facility. Well, the problem with that is that that's not always very truthful. Now, these cubs, once they hit that 12-week mark, they're no longer supposed to be used for those photo ops. And so if you continually breed animals, you take the baby away from mom, so then she goes back into heat more quickly and can be bred again. That's a very fast turnover, and you're going to produce a lot of cubs in a year. And so those facilities aren't necessarily keeping those animals. If you have an average litter size of around 3 to 4 cubs per tiger, and you're breeding multiple tigers, that allows for hundreds of cubs potentially born in a facility in a year. We have 48 animals at our facility right now, and we could take in a few more rescues, but that's about it. And so it's not really very profitable, or that they're not able to, where did our lions go? They've disappeared on me, to keep those animals. And so a lot of times what happens, and Roman's wandering away, is those cubs are then sold to roadside zoos. They're sold as pets if they're able to be. They're sold to the canned hunt industry, which is where you pay money to shoot animals that are in an enclosed space that cannot escape. And sometimes even death when it's too expensive to care for them, you don't have the space to care for them, so the easiest method is just to get rid of them. So, just to wrap up, we can actually probably walk down the hill a little bit and see if we can catch back up with Roman and Raina a little bit. I'm going to take our treats with us because we have vultures. That one can stay. We have vultures that will gladly take the rest of my chicken. heading towards one of his favorite napping spots. They really love these low-growing bushes that provide a lot of shade. Since lions typically live in areas where it's very warm and very hot, they're going to seek out shelter and shade, just kind of like these brush trees. Here comes Raina. During the day, because it's just too hot and they need to conserve energy. So they do most of their hunting dawn, dusk, when it's not so hot outside. And as a pride, they can take down much larger prey than a solitary cat could. Here's Raina. All right. So, in terms of threats that face these cats, again, you're going to hear a lot of the same similar themes when we're talking about the threats that face these cats, because they are very similar. Again, trophy hunting is a big impact on these lions. When you take a male lion and you kill him, a new male is going to come take over that pride. And that new male, does not want the old male's genes living and existing in that pride. So what he's going to do is he's going to run off any of the older juveniles or kill any of the younger cubs. So then the females, again, go back into heat more quickly. He can breed with them, and now his genes will then survive on. So it has larger than an impact of just the single male you are killing. Canned hunts are also a pretty big deal in Africa. Again, you can pay money to shoot an enclosed animal that cannot escape. And this is the fate of a lot of those pay-to-play cubs, that they end up in these canned hunt facilities. Now, one thing you can do with trophy hunting and canned hunting is speak up. Tell organizations that ship those products back to the States that you do not agree with that. Do not support those services when you go traveling overseas. Be mindful of the places that you visit. So if you go to a place and they offer cub petting opportunities, that you can pay $20 to come hang out with the lion cub, think about the repercussions of that. Think about what's going to happen to that young lion cub in a few short weeks. And you might have heard Roman grumble up there. Roman does not like the vultures, and so if the vultures come too close, he tends to gruff and roar and tell them to go away. So the vultures do occasionally try to steal their food, but Roman does not touch them. Sorry, back to threats. Again, retaliation killing. When lions do take livestock, oftentimes those farmers go out and try to then kill those lions that took their livestock. That is the way that they make money. And so there are programs that offer money in exchange for animals that were taken by various NGOs. Raina seems to be chewing on a twig of some sort. Lions, again, don't typically eat grass. They are indeed predators, but sometimes you just want to chew on that weed that's right in front of you. Okay, sorry about that. It's fun working around these guys. They're always unpredictable. They're always doing something different, which always makes our jobs pretty fun. All right. Let's head up and over to Raja and see what he's up to. All right.
And as we're following Lauren, I just want to say hello and shout out to Lynn and Beverly and Deborah and Debbie and Autumn for commenting and for following our live feed. We're glad to have you. And we are going to go say hi to Raja now once we collect all of our scents and fun enrichment.
All right. So, we'll have the vultures hanging out with us throughout. I have food and they will continue to follow us, hoping to get a free treat. All right, so we're heading up on Oak Hill towards Raja. Raja is neighbors with Roman and Raina. All right. And you might hear this sound as we're approaching. That's what we call a chuff, a chuffle. And that sound is a friendly greeting. He's just saying hello. And tigers chuff, lions do not. All right. So, Raja is expectantly hovering over his food chute, hoping for a treat. So we can go ahead and give him a quick treat here. I'm going to use this food chute. And you might be able to hear him crunching. Oh, there we go. He ate it quite quickly. All right, so Raja is a tiger, and Raja came to us from North Carolina, and he was found as he was walking along the highway just outside Charlotte. He was with his sister, Kayla, and they were about 6 months old when they were found. They were called into the police, and I think as most people were pretty stunned to actually see tiger cubs walking along the highway. And so the police came and picked them up, and they eventually did their quarantine time at the North Carolina Zoo. Then they were about 9 months old. They came to us, and Raja's been with us ever since, and Kayla passed away a few months ago. So we don't know specifically where they came from. In North Carolina, you can legally own tigers. Yes, you can legally own exotic animals. But guess what you can't own? You can't own any native wildlife. So Raja in your backyard, totally fine, perfectly legal. You don't have to get rabies tags on him, you don't have to register him, but you cannot own that raccoon. You cannot own that possum. That's illegal. So, we are one of just a few states that have those similar laws. And so, we are working to change those laws. And one thing you guys can do is keep in mind, keep in touch with us and see, potentially in the future when we do try to pass legislation, that these guys are not pets. These are predators. They can be up to 600, 700 pounds of the tigers. And this animal living in your backyard, if it were to escape, if a hurricane were to come through the area and destroy homes and communities, we have no idea how many of these animals could potentially be on the loose. There's no registry. And so what we hope to do is, one, get a count for how many animals are being owned out there, and then again, we don't want these animals as pets because their potential to hurt and kill somebody is very high. Even if they know the people, even if they know their caretakers, that doesn't take away the fact that they are indeed wild. You can't breed out those instincts that if I were to trip and fall, that wouldn't necessarily trigger that prey instinct where then I could be bitten, I could be grabbed. And it's just not worth it, because then oftentimes it results with that animal's life in jeopardy because somebody decided that they wanted to try to keep that animal as a pet. And there's not any regulations, again, about keeping these animals in backyards. They don't have to have a perimeter fence. There's very little inspection, and so it's a really dangerous situation to be in. Now, tigers in the wild are endangered. There's roughly 3,800 of them left in the wild. Now, as we were talking about in captivity, and we're again talking about people's backyards, roadside zoos, we're not talking about AZA accredited facilities or sanctuaries, roughly between 5,000 to 10,000 tigers. That's more than there is in the wild. And again, it's an estimate because we don't know exactly how many animals are out there. There are no registries for 4 states. Tigers are solitary. They live primarily Southeast Asia. There's a small area of Amur tigers left in the peninsula, Amur Peninsula in Russia. And one of their really biggest threats is poaching. These guys, again, are listed, can't talk today. They sell more in terms of parts than they do alive. And so there's a big market with the traditional Chinese medicine market, TCM, for tigers and their parts. Sometimes they're believed to have medicinal healing powers, that they can cure everything from a headache to cancer. And these theories have been scientifically tested, and they're not true. And so we have to change beliefs, and we have to get people to understand that taking animal parts as far as medicine or using them for a fur rug is endangering these wild populations. And so to stop poaching is kind of the key start there. And there's a lot of great programs out there with various NGOs that are trying to put methods on the ground to help protect tigers in terms of employing forest guardians and people to go out there armed to combat poachers. And so when you can take people to actually protect tigers and their lands, we have seen a decrease in poaching. You need to educate the public about the use of tigers and their parts, and that will decrease the demand for those parts as well. Tigers in general also are affected, again, by the palm oil industry. They also live in various habitats, as far from rainforest to, again, cold areas in Russia. And so, again, the palm oil industry affects them as well. So, again, not buying products with palm oil in it are a great way to help animals on the other side of the world from you. Cub pettings. Tigers are often used, as well as lions, in cub petting opportunities. And so do your research before you go and visit facilities. Learn about those facilities. If they offer opportunities for you to pay money and you can pet those animals, it's probably not a good place to spend your money or your time. And then, kind of last but not least, these tigers are oftentimes used in a lot of these Southeast Asian countries. You guys may have heard of the Tiger Temple in these areas, where not only are these animals being used for cub petting, but they are easy ways to take tigers that are poached out of the wild, funnel them through these areas where they have captive tigers, and they can get away with a little bit more easily of getting tiger parts onto the black market. All right, let's go ahead and give Raju some enrichment, since he's been so patient.
And what is Raja getting, Lauren?
All right. We've got, again, Axe Perfume and Vanilla Musk. All right, I think I accidentally got some of that on me. All right, we're going to chuck this up and over the fence. And again, not too impressed that it does not have meat in it, and that's okay. All right. So, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. If anybody had any questions, they're more than welcome to interject some. But just to kind of keep the overall concept of, it's World Wildlife Day, and we guys want you to be able to take some sort of action to help these cats in the wild. And the biggest thing is to stay informed. Educate your friends and family. So if you do come out on a tour, which we hope you can, share those stories, those backgrounds, what you've learned with your friends and family, and so they can also be informed. Be aware, like I said, when you go visit other facilities, do your research. Don't go to places that offer pay-to-plays and photo opportunities. Especially when you go abroad, be very careful. There's lots of those places, especially in the Southeast Asia area, that do exploit animals, and you don't want to promote those particular facilities, because oftentimes those animals are not treated very well, and sometimes they end up on the exotic pets and parts trade. Locally, speak to your lawmakers. Tell them that, sorry, got distracted. We got some questions coming up. So I'm going to get through this really quickly, and then we'll answer some of those questions. Speak to your lawmakers. Tell them, that you don't support exotic cats being owned as pets. These are dangerous animals that we do need laws enforced in North Carolina. If you do see cub pettings, traveling at malls and whatnot, make sure that you speak up to those facilities and tell them that, politely, why you do not like the fact that they are allowing a cub petting business to come through. Again, oftentimes people are uneducated and they don't know, and so using a polite approach to help inform them is the best way to do that. All right, so let's go ahead and take some questions.
We've got a couple of questions on here. Mabel would like to know if we spay or neuter all of our animals, Lauren.
So when any of our animals come in, they have to first go through a quarantine. The building is actually behind you guys. And males we do neuter when they come through. We do not breed. It is one of the definitions of being a sanctuary. We are a nonprofit. We do not breed. We do not buy or sell animals or their parts. And we don't allow public contact with these animals. And so we don't want any unwanted births. We don't breed at all because we're here as a rescue facility. So if animals are in need and they come here and we are breeding animals, well, we have taken up space that those animals in need.
Awesome. And so we have Beverly, who would like to know the palm oil that you were talking about. Is it listed on our products at home? Is it listed by any other alternative names and ingredient lists?
Great question, Beverly. I love prompting.
I don't know if we have enough time to list all of the alternative names.
Right. So the best thing, honestly, to do is get one of those apps and/or I hate to say it, Google it and write it all down because palm oil goes under a numerous amount of names. Sometimes you see it as palm oil, palmitate, anything with the word palm in it. Also sodium lauryl sulfate is also palm oil. And you also do have to be careful of just generic vegetable oils because oftentimes that can contain palm oil. So if you want the full list, like I said, it's a lot of different names. Google it or download one of those free apps and that'll help you identify any palm oil that might be listed. And remember, also look for that RSPO certified, which means it's been sustainably harvested as well.
Awesome. And so Al would like to know how often we have tours, and Debbie would like to know if the cats can eat fish with skin and scales on it.
Oh boy.
That's very specific. I love it.
It is. It is. I'm trying to get Raja another treat here because he's being so very patient. We do offer tours. We offer tours on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. They're public tours that you can sign up for online. And I believe they're $17 or so right now.
18 for an adult and $12.50 for youth ages 4 to 12.
Beautiful. Thank you, Marissa. That is her line of expertise and not so much mine. Yes, we do have public tours. You can also schedule private tours. As well as we have specialty tours. We have a feed with the keeper experience that you can come out and actually do right now what we're doing and feed the animals from the outside of the enclosure. Again, no contact, no petting. And it's a great way to spend a little bit more time with them and get a little more up close. And then as far as fish goes, yes, we actually do feed fish out. We do have to be careful of scales. Some species of fish have barbs and whatnot on them. But other than those particularly spiny fish, we can feed salmon, cod, the small cats especially like some of the fish, different species as well as shrimp actually. The big cats, some do, some don't.
And on the topic of what they eat and what they can eat, we've got a question of how often do they eat?
So our big cats, our tigers, our lions, our leopard, and our cougars, even though they're not technically big cats, we feed those animals 5 days a week, and they are fasted, which means we don't feed them twice a week, and those days are split up throughout the week. The small cats, we fast 1 day a week, and we do that because carnivores are not particularly successful hunters. They oftentimes, the small cats usually have about a 40% success rate. The big cats sometimes even lower than that. And so they're not always guaranteed a catch when they go out and hunt in the wild. And so the more closely we can mimic that wild diet, the better off they are. And it's a really good way also to maintain healthy weights. We don't want overweight animals, just like people. There are other health complications that can come with overweight animals. And so we like to have animals that are not on the overweight side. All right. So did we have any more questions?
Not that have come up right now. You've gotten all of them, Lauren.
All right. Fantastic. Well, Raja, Roman, Raina, Anthony, we all thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for celebrating World Wildlife Day with us, and we hope you guys can potentially come out sometime and visit the cats and us in person. Thanks again. Bye.